Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a deleted user from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, Am I the arsehole for telling my wife that I would choose my mum over the birth of our baby? Now, before we do get into this story, I do want to give you a couple of warnings in case you do want to skip the story. It does contain of death of a parent, cancer, emotional abuse, and manipulation as well. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. And it starts off. So this is a throwaway account. I will check some of these comments, but not all. So to get started, I am 36 male. My wife is 33 female. We're expecting our first child soon. My mother, who is 70, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and has been hospitalized since it is so bad doctors say she will not survive since treatments aren't working well on her. My dad died when I was young, and my mum took care of me while working 2 jobs so that I could have a good life. I feel I owe everything to my mother. I bought her a house and whatever she needed that she could live her older years well since we had to struggle so much. When I got home from work and visiting my mum, my wife and I were talking, and she asked if you got a call that I was in labor or your mum was going to die, who would you pick? I told her I would pick my mum. She asked why, and I told her that I wanted to be there to say goodbye to my mum since I would never see her again, and so she would have somebody there in her final moments. She got mad and said, what about her and our baby? I told her I would try to be there as fast as I could after my mum, but that most likely wouldn't happen. So I told her not to worry about it. She was still mad and told me to get out of the house. I left and now I'm at my mum's house. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? Edit to everyone saying that I would be leaving her alone. No, I wouldn't. She'd have her mum there. She has said she wanted her mum there with her. Yes, I was right for leaving my house. It was either I leave or she go. I was not about to put my pregnant wife out of our house. Yes, I have been there for her. I've taken off work to comfort her and help her in any way she needs during this pregnancy. Edit 2. I keep getting the same question about why did I leave my house, even though I may own the house. It was late, and I didn't want my pregnant wife out late at night, but she told me to leave, so I knew it was either me or her. 2. My mother is in the hospital and she is not at her house. 3. I thought a lot about what a lot of you said about how I should put her first, but she doesn't put me first at all. She chooses her sisters over me all the time. 4th, I do not make her feel second. I've put my wife first, especially in emergencies, and I've tried my best to comfort her. I've gone home and now I'm thinking I don't need to apologize. I really don't know. Thanks to everyone who's commented. And there was a couple of relevant comments which OP responds to. So PaceNo4108 says, you got kicked out of your house for getting a hypothetical question wrong. On face value, you're not the arsehole, but what is likely happening is your wife isn't feeling the support and love she really wants and needs right now. Is she a super needy, controlling woman? Or simply feeling a tad neglected? Hormonal? I think you need to consider why she asked the question and address that. That's the problem. A hypothetical question and hurt reaction is simply how it plays out. Get out of your mum's house and go fix this. Leaving her home alone isn't going to help. Sleep out in front if you need to. Bring lots of apologies too. You were not kicked out for a bad answer here. There is a feeling of loss and something that is missing that your wife isn't feeling and needs to as soon as possible. Figure that out and go give it to her. And give her another version of it every day for the rest of your life. Don't find out what part of love your wife doesn't think she has. Don't become a you're the arsehole and sleep at mum's house. Opie says no, she's not a needy, controlling woman. I never thought about that, but I did plan to go home and apologize today and ask her some questions about it. Kyrie says info. Have you missed important appointments or not helping out around your house as much, making your wife feel like she is alone? For her to ask questions like that. Opie says no. I've been to all but one, and that's because she forgot to tell me about it. When I came home, I washed the dishes from dinner and cleaned the floor. Usually she prefers to cook. I've taken off a lot of days to help and comfort her through this, so maybe I could do more. I don't know what else to do, but I will ask though. Weak possession 7650 is a hard choice, but I'd say not the arsehole. As long as your wife does actually have another plan for getting to the hospital and someone to support her. If not, the situation is a little iffy. Chances of both happening at the same time are quite unlikely though, so here's hoping you don't actually have to choose. OP says yes, she does have support. Her mum and sisters live close to us, about 5 minutes away. They would be able to drive her. Like this comment said, to me it felt like there was always something in the background for that question to pop up in the first place. Do I agree that asking that question was a good idea? Absolutely not. It's hypothetical and one that you're not likely to like the answer to, but it does feel like it comes from some sort of resentment. But OP came in with their first update and says, if you haven't read the story, here it is, and shares the link, and then says, hello again, people have read it. Some of you asked for an update, so here it is. I went back home yesterday afternoon. She wasn't there, and I assumed she was at her mum's house. She came back in the evening and we had to talk about what happened. She did apologize for asking the question, and that when she thought about it, she understood my answer because she would do the same. I asked her why she asked, and she said she didn't know and thought I was going to pick her since I normally do. I kinda just said okay and moved on. I did tell her I want marriage counseling after or even before the baby's born. She asked why, and I told her how I felt, and she denied it, so I had to give her proof. Then she started crying and got mad and told me to sleep in the guest room instead of kicking me out. So I guess I got a win there. Anyways, she told me that she no longer wanted me in the delivery, which I was fine with. I understand to an extent where it's coming from. I would go into therapy, which was suggested, and I think I do need. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for the advice. You all gave me some good and bad advice, and sorry if my comments came off as mean. I'm not really a friendly person till you know me, especially if you're accusing me of something. Winterworld says on the back of that one, you would actually be fine with not being there to see the birth of your child. Really? Opie says no, but it's her choice. I can't make her let me in there. Ika says you could have told her it's a priority for you, that you're sorry too. That you guys were talking hypothetical and the chances of your mum dying on your child's birthday are very slim. You could try to make her see it's important to you. Just accepting it would make me feel like you just don't care. Also, you could have been more understanding, taken accountability and apologized to her before you brought in marriage counseling. Opie says I did tell her that she is a priority, and she did see it's important to me because she would do the same, and we all did that. Why'd you want me to argue with a pregnant woman? Sad Bunny says, please tell me you're in therapy. Please. I've made an appointment with one. But Opie comes in with another update and says, hello people, this will probably be my last and final update. I read a lot of your comments and I did apologize. Not for bringing up marriage counseling, but for the timing I brought it up and that I did show her proof. She did forgive me and told me I was still going to be at the birth of our child. I said to her that it was okay and that I accepted it and I wasn't going to fight her on her choice. I did tell her that I think she and I both need some space before the baby comes, to which she agreed. I told her I would leave and that she could have the house, and that if she needed anything to call or text me. No, I'm not at my mother's house. I'm at a friend's house. He doesn't live there anymore, but he usually rents it out. To all of you asking why don't you kick her out, it's because I'm the only person who makes money in the house, and I know especially now if I kick her out, it would be called financial, emotionally manipulation, or even abuse. So it's better a lot of times if I leave. Yes, I do plan to go back home when the baby is born, and to someone who asked, I do plan to take paternity leave. No, she does not know where I'm at. She didn't ask, so I didn't tell. Mainly because her family will be banging on my door. The people who I know are going to ask, why aren't you fighting harder to be in the delivery room? I've learned that some things I cannot control. One thing is, people, if she doesn't want me there, I won't be. My main example is if I'd gotten someone pregnant in my 20s and said get an abortion just because it's my baby as well doesn't mean I can control what she does. So it's her body and her choice. Lastly, to people who are saying they need more details, I'm not used to just randomly talking about myself. It's been that way since I was a child. I've gotten better since I was a kid, but it's a struggle, so if you have a question, give me a specific question because I answer what you ask, not the above. And about the divorce thing, I do not care if she divorces me. I love her, but I cannot control how she feels, so personally I won't beg her not to. I will suggest that we get help, but if she doesn't want to, then that's fine. I'm secure. What I mean by that is she will get nothing in the divorce. Does she know that? I don't know. I will try my best to answer the questions in the comments. And we do have a final update in a moment, which comes after the baby is born, but there was a couple of relevant questions on this one. So one, awareness says not the arsehole, but such a dramatic turn of events from a hypothetical question. Sweet Rose replies to that saying really escalated quickly. Like, now I don't even think he's going to have a wife as an emotional support when his mum dies. I hope he has a support system in place because he's going to need it. Opie says, well, that's why I'm going to therapy, because I don't want to lean on my wife too much after she has the baby. 3x3 animal style please says, can I ask, why is your last line of the post certainty she would get nothing in the divorce? Can you elaborate on that a bit? Opie says, we have a prenup. Anything that was purchased before the marriage would be mine, since even before we got married, she was stay at home. So I purchased the house and everything before we got married, so it would be mine. Toffee Swirl says, do you have autism? Opie says ADHD, not autism. Spoonbill says, I'm secure. What I mean by that is she'll get nothing in the divorce. Does she know that? I don't know. Then says, do you hate this woman, your wife, who's carrying your children? She doesn't work. She'd be doing primary childcare presumably. How is she going to live? She's going to be a single mother just like your mum. Is that what you want for her and your kids? I do not understand you at all. Why are you throwing everything away because a first-time pregnant woman feels insecure? Opie says, I don't plan on getting a divorce is one. No, I don't hate her. She will still have to get a job and I will probably end up paying child support. I don't plan on getting a divorce if she wants one. That's on her. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just giving her space and not making her more stressed. OK Team says, if she doesn't want me in there, I won't be, and she will get nothing in a divorce statements both bother me. It sounds like she may want you to show that you really want to be there with her and with her in general. Maybe try a little harder to make that known. Your attitude makes it seem like you just don't care. Also, why would you want her to get nothing in a divorce? She is the mother of your child. Opie says that was decided before we got married. When we got engaged, she decided to be a house fiance, then housewife. So for me, I wanted to protect myself if she ever checked. I've heard too many stories. My attitude around her, I try to show I care, but maybe she doesn't see it that way. I don't know how she sees it. Yes, I know she is the mother of my child. So OP's final update, and it is the last one, says, hello people, I have good and bad news. So I'll start with the good news. My wife had the baby on January 26th. It's a girl, and I love her so much. I wanted to name her after my mother, but we found out a compromise, and her middle name is my mother's name. For the questions I'm going to get about was I in the delivery room, I was not. I did ask, but I got a no, and she said she already told her sister, and that she couldn't hurt my feelings, which is okay. By then I had stopped caring a lot. The bad news is, my mother died. She died a week before my baby was born. A decent bit of her friends came to the funeral, and if you go back up a sentence, I said I had stopped caring a lot since she didn't come to the funeral. She made stupid excuses, and I just said forget it. It was nice though. I'm mad that she wasn't there when I needed her. So I haven't been talking to her much, so I won't yell at her. We talk about the baby and her, and other than that, we don't talk. I'll bring up marriage counseling in a few weeks, but for now, I'm going to enjoy my baby and love her. Now, I'm not sure if marriage counseling can ever turn around something like this, because it certainly doesn't feel that way. To me, it feels like OP's checked out of this relationship by the end of it. And I've got to be honest, I think at this point, divorce is probably the best way forward for all of them. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the top of the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Original Good 2218. Doesn't have an update as yet, but says, am I the arsehole for reducing my parents' allowance by whatever amount they share with my siblings? My parents live in a less developed country than I do. My siblings and I all live in North America or Europe. When I got my new job, I did my budgets and saw that I could send home roughly $1,300 a month without it affecting my personal comfort. I would still be able to save for my future, and my mum and dad could retire. So when I was home, I set up a joint account for us. That way I could see if they needed more and make sure they were not getting scammed or anything. After about a year and a half, I started noticing that there was a $200 transfer every month, and they said he was having difficulties with his budget, so they're helping him out. My brother doesn't need help. He's a scholarship student. He actually receives a stipend from my home government to study abroad. What he wants is money to party. So I reduced the amount I give them by $200. Obviously they do not need it if they can afford to give it away every month. My mum called me when she noticed and was yelling at me for being a crappy daughter and sister. I asked her to tell me exactly how much money they contributed to my party fund when I was away for school. Just so you know, the answer is $0. They also tried to talk me out of attending university in Canada. I'm not sure how common the idea of filial piety is in other cultures, but it's a big deal in mine. She went off about it. I told her that they didn't need the money and had better ways to spend $200 than gift it to my brother so he could get drunk with his friends more. She said that I'm treating them like children by restricting how they spend their money. I replied that I was not going to subsidize my brother through them, and that from now on the money they got from me would be $1,100, and that if they sent him money again, I would know and reduce their money by that amount going forward. My brother called me to bitch about me about cutting off his money from our parents. I said that I hadn't. He was welcome to tell our parents to go back to back-breaking jobs at their age to pay for his partying in London. Then they would have money to live off of and their wages to pay for his drinking. My boyfriend is on my side, as many of my friends. Most of my family and people from my culture think I am being an arsehole. However, for the last 2 months, my parents have only been spending on themselves. Now, obviously, I don't come from a culture where there's this sort of expectancy to care for your parents in their older age, but I certainly would if they were struggling, don't get me wrong. But the absolute entitlement of that sort of attitude makes me, it's just shit. I think it's disgusting when you're caring for someone in the way you are, showing the love that you do, the consideration that you do, looking out for them, not wanting them to be scammed and all this kind of thing, caring for them in a way that your brother certainly isn't, and then you get called a crappy daughter and sister. And a line that really did make me chuckle to myself is when she said I'm treating them like children by restricting how they spend their money. I would have said, do you want to say that back to yourself? Stupid butts come straight in and says, $1,300 a month? Girl, I'll adopt you. Whilst Wild says, not the arsehole, and since your parents probably don't tell you often enough, I'll say it for them. You're an amazingly thoughtful, loving and caring child to your parents. You send them upwards of $1,000 every month just so they can retire and not have to work. That's amazing. You're also reducing the amount you give them as a preventative measure to make sure they don't get taken advantage of by a spoiled son. If they give $200 now without consequences, it would eventually increase to $300, then $400, then $500, and so on and so forth. You set a boundary that will help your parents to keep their money for themselves so they can continue to remain retired and not spread themselves too thin. Extinct Diplodocus says, not the arsehole, if you wanted to give your brother $200 a month, you could send it direct. You don't have to give your parents money to make an end run so that they're giving your brother that $200. I agree with your logic that they're sending $200 a month to brother. That's money they don't actually need from you. The total effect is that you stop giving brother $200 a month. Glum Hamster says, not the arsehole. They don't want to be treated like children but will gladly take a monthly allowance from you. An allowance they wouldn't have if you had listened to them and accepted their lack of support. I doubt your brother will send them money when he gets a job, so they have a choice to make. Keep giving him money they claim to need, or use the money so they can have an easier retirement. VNXR replies that saying, right, I have a friend who ended up being a sole supporter of the entire family back in their home country. The friend is far behind the poverty line by the standards of the country he immigrated to. Their brother, who's doing okay financially, isn't contributing, and when the friend said they can't support the family anymore, they berated and insulted them for hours and blamed the parent being sick on them. And one more comment from Alpine Lad 1965 who says, you are way more generous than I could or would ever be. You went to university and bettered yourself, got a good paying job because you went against their wishes and studied in Canada. Now you sent them money, and they think your brother deserves it because he is a man. Nah, That is 18th century stuff right there. Personally, I would not have given them anything because they didn't even want you to study. In that case, you never would have had the money to give them anyway. They should be happy if you give them $500 a month. Now, I can't comment on the culture and the expectance and stuff like that, but I just find it incredibly sad that you think and you talk to your daughter this way when they're supporting your way of life. They're doing incredible things with their own life, living an independent, doing things all by themselves, looking after themselves, but still having the consideration, the care and love to care for you at the same time, and then you treat them that way. I find that just baffling, honestly. Much love to you, OP, because you are an amazing person. If you do hear it, please never forget that. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you have a different take on the matter. What would you suggest OP do? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.